Show no love to the police, show no love to the phonies. She wanna come to my homie, she wanna ride like a pony. Better pay up if you owe me, don't come around like you know me.
Yo, what up, crypto fam? Gosh damn, I already see what kind of day it's gonna be. I only got a few minutes. I want to cover this quick, so we'll save us from the trolls. We'll save us from the trolls and switch to the members only chat real quick. I already see I'm booting people left and right. Let's just keep it simple, guys. We only got a few minutes, so happy Sunday. Let's dive into this latest Kaddex FUD. See what we got going on here. So the first thing that I question is very strange. It almost feels like somebody at KD launch is behind shilling this FUD. I got a weird feeling that it's either a disgruntled employee. I mean, who in the heck has that much time to go out of their way to try to make somebody else look bad, right? Like, you have to be seriously, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, to go out of your way to try to make somebody that look that bad. And the whole thing is, like, the Kaddex FUD isn't that big of a deal, in my personal opinion. So let's take a look. We'll read this article really quick just to make sure I'm not missing anything. But from what I've seen, I think it looks like some high school drama. They're just trying to make Kaddex look really bad, which they're doing a great job. I mean, they don't need any help. Kaddex makes themselves look horrible. So, like, this is just the icing on the cake, man. So the first thing I would really try to do is, who is Ruud Janssen, right? I would really want to be trying to figure out who's writing these articles. That would be the first thing. Because I find it very strange that all of a sudden KD launch has a DEX coming out and KD swaps all of a sudden coming out. Now there's this magical FUD against Kaddex. I'm almost not buying it. I feel like it's somebody from the inside working against people. Or maybe, I don't know. I couldn't imagine. Kaddex is supposed to play such a monumental role in the growth and development of the Kadena ecosystem. So, I mean, this is like a 13-minute article. Kadena's team doesn't even put out 13-minute articles. They're putting out, the FUDders are shilling out more FUD than Kaddex is putting out. So let's take a look. Let's take a listen.
The Kadena ecosystem is rotten to the core. Abstract. Last week, Kaddex, the biggest DEX on Kadena, was caught on chain double dipping their own public sale and diluting investor share while allocating a bigger share of their token to themselves. Kaddex admitted guilt and promised to burn the ill-gotten tokens. CFO Daniele de Vecchis symbolically stepped down from his CFO position. In reality, nothing changed. It's business as usual for Daniele de Vecchis and the rest of the Kaddex team. Questions remain unanswered. Anyone from the community demanding to know more is silenced and banned. Lack of transparency surrounding these actions, combined with suspicious involvement in Kaddex from one of the official Kadena team members, Francesco Melpignano, makes Kadena unattractive for DeFi investors and builders. About the author. I'd like to introduce myself to give you some context as why I'm writing this piece.
I was a novice investor in 2017 and held small amounts of cryptocurrencies.
After the 2018 crash, I became disillusioned with crypto, until in 2020 I rediscovered CoinMetro. I accidentally invested in their eco in 2017-2018. After seeing a couple of AMA videos from their CEO, Kevin Mirko, my faith in crypto was restored. This man refuses to list shitcoins and dogcoins on his exchange. He's all about ethics and regulations. For some weird reason, he's one of the few people in crypto who doesn't want to enrich himself, but instead provide value to his clients and move crypto forward in a more positive direction. If something hasn't been listed on CoinMetro, I don't even consider buying it. And that's how I met and fell in love with Kadena. What is Kadena?
It's getting more clear. There's
Kadena
only a few
is
people I can know who wrote this
layer
now.
1, L1, which truly solved the trilemma. Kadena can scale out infinitely while staying decentralized and secure. Unlimited chains can be added, adding throughput while keeping gas fees on Kadena low forever. The tech behind Kadena is great, but unfortunately this article isn't written to shill Kadena. DeFi on Kadena is still in its infancy, and it's on its way to make a false start. What's the issue? The problems on the Kadena chain revolve around Kaddex. Kaddex is aiming to be the biggest DEX, often officially sponsored and tweeted about by the official Kadena Twitter account. Not a lot on Kadena is being built yet. Kadena delivers blueprints for various DeFi structures, and it's up to the community or companies to use those blueprints to start a project or dApp. The current deployed version of Kaddex is based upon Kadena Swap, the blueprint from Kadena for a DEX. Recently, an article published by yours truly uncovered that the team behind Kaddex used investor funds from their private sale to buy massive amounts of their token $KDX in the public sale. Through the usage of hundreds of proxy accounts, likely using fake KYCs at Tokensoft, they allocated an additional 1.15% of the total supply to themselves. In a string of statements from the CFO, digital profile Mandrake, currently operated by Daniele de Vecchis, the CFO admits that Kaddex was the buyer and that he will resign his CFO position. His exact statements will be shown further below. I'm tired of hearing that 1.15% of the total supply is insignificant. If you do think so, you can stop reading. However, I do invite you to donate 1.15% of your net wealth to my KDA address, KF77 Cecilia 29D366427C908B926B0623CB4-1B2C8587FBD8EBO4998627-7A3D on chain 4, if you truly believe 1.15% is nothing to worry about. Before we deep dive in the inception of Kaddex, there's one more person I want to introduce. Francesco Melpignano. Francesco Melpignano is currently the CEO of Kadena Eco, an organization tasked with incentivizing building on Kadena. Recently they announced a $100 million fund, https://twitter.com/kadena_io/status/1517096122182942720. At the time when Kaddex started and was announced, Francesco Melpignano served as head of business development for Kadena. Kaddex, a deep dive. We'll discuss all the events surrounding Kaddex in chronological order, starting at the inception. Kaddex started out as an anonymous project. The first person to know about and to announce Kaddex was Francesco Melpignano. Melpignano claimed an independent team approached us. Shortly after the announcement of Kaddex, a private sale followed, in June 2021. In the private sale, Kaddex raised 3,242,085 KDA from anonymous investors. The private sale itself was dubious in nature because there was no KYC or any AML compliance. Sometime after the private sale concluded, an article, from another author, appeared. It was alleged that Francesco Melpignano was behind Kaddex, which would make Kadena and Kaddex run by the same people, while the community was told a separate entity would build Kaddex. The article discussed two major points: 1. The private sale may not have been legal and compliant, and 2. Francesco Melpignano is involved in both Kadena and Kaddex. Whether or not the private sale was legal or not is no concern for now. Key takeaways from the article is why Francesco Melpignano was alleged to be involved in Kaddex. One developer from Kaddex was doxxed, Guglielmo Sportelli, application developer at Redwing Labs. The website Kaddex.com was found on a dedicated server belonging to Redwing Labs. Redwing Labs operates under the names of Redwing Labs, Redwing Technologies and RWLSRL. Francesco Melpignano was found to be the owner of the Redwing entities. When Francesco Melpignano was asked to comment on the situation, Melpignano responded by starting a cleanup. He deleted his LinkedIn, now restored without Redwing present. Guglielmo Sportelli had to remove Redwing Labs from his LinkedIn, see below, and the website Kaddex.com was moved out of the Redwing Labs dedicated server to another hosting provider. None of the issues raised in this article were ever addressed and always disregarded as FUD. Bringing up Redwing Labs and Redwing Technologies resulted in a ban from any Kadena and Kaddex related channel. Coming out of anonymity. A month after the article was published, the Kaddex team decided to step out of anonymity. Picking apart their introduction statements show that several people mention that they have been with Kaddex since the start, most notably the CFO, Daniele de Vecchis, and many of the other Italian-sounding names, namely, Adrian Cardozo, Giuseppe Pace, Guglielmo Sportelli, and Felice Angelini. Another important note is the introduction statement of Nicholas Ramsrud. Ramsrud states that he has been recently brought on as CEO and CPO. Who did Ramsrud replace so quickly before the team could be doxxed? Or perhaps that person is not replaced and Kaddex still has more undoxxed team members. Founding members' backgrounds. Let's dive into the background of these founding members. First off, the originally Docs team member, Guglielmo Sportelli. It was found out that Sportelli was working for Red Wing Labs after the private sale. Currently Sportelli only lists Kaddex as employment. Why is it so important that nobody knows Sportelli was involved in Red Wing Labs? Second up we have another developer, Antonio Semeraro. Antonio was not yet mentioned because we don't know if Antonio Semeraro worked for Kaddex since the inception of Kaddex or not. Antonio Semeraro announced in his introduction statement that he has experience working for Red Wing Labs. Project manager Adrian Cardozo still states on his LinkedIn that he works for Red Wing Labs. I can commend Adrian for not trying to erase history, but not for not speaking out against Kaddex financial misconduct. Next up is Giuseppe Pace. Giuseppe used to work for Red Wing Labs as Chief Technology Officer CTO but has since scrubbed his LinkedIn profile and replaced his function at Red Wing Labs with self-employed sick. Scraping site Rocket Reach scraped LinkedIn and still has an archived record of Giuseppe Pace working at Red Wing Labs. https://web.archive.org/web/2022032015/https://rocketreach.co/Giuseppe Pace email _233,459,694. I was unable to link the other members, Felice Angelini and Daniele de Vecchis, back to Red Wing Labs. At this point we do know that at least 4 of the founding Kaddex members are or were Red Wing Labs employees. 2 out of those 4, 3 out of 5 if we include Francesco Melpignano, found it necessary to try and erase the link to the past they had with Red Wing Labs. We also know that Red Wing Labs is owned by Francesco Melpignano. Kaddex is likely a Red Wing Labs project, which makes Francesco Melpignano the owner of Kaddex. Francesco Melpignano is also the CEO of Kadena Eco, the grant program which has $100 million to spend on Kadena incentives. It's very dubious that Kadena would put the same person who owns the biggest DEX, Kaddex, and the biggest wallet, X Wallet, in charge of the Eco grant program. Financial trouble. The double dip. We arrive at the 18th of April, when I disclosed that Kaddex used private sale investor funds to buy their own public sale. Read the full article here. Kaddex allotted themselves 1.15% of the total supply, valued at the time of the sale at $1,840,000 US. To do so, Kaddex used hundreds of proxy accounts because the maximum limit was set at $100K KDX. The Kaddex team allegedly tried to use bot votes to game the DAO Discord and raise the limit, but the community prevented that from happening. Fairly quickly after the article, Mandrake issued his first response. There would be an extensive reply, the FUD would be dealt with, and Daniele de Vecchis mentions something about ethics. Note that I have written a second article about suspicious on-chain transactions from Kaddex. Daniele de Vecchis could respond to and dismiss the allegations from the second article within an hour. Those transactions were over half a year old. Daniele de Vecchis knows exactly what goes on-chain and knows everything about the finances and financial transactions of Kaddex. What actually followed was a very short statement. No FUD was addressed. It was confirmed that Kaddex used investor funds to buy their own sale. Daniele de Vecchis also claims to respond to community questions. Over the course of 12 days after the article was published, I can't think of a single question regarding the double dip incident that has been answered by the team. Kaddex pretends to be a DAO, but Kaddex uses their Discord DAO for one single purpose: top-down centralized communication to the commoners. It's also curious to read that the tokens acquired in this way will be burned. If the tokens were acquired for any legitimate purpose, they would not have to be burned. Several days later, Daniele de Vecchis follows up with another comment, simply stating that he drops his CFO position. Nothing else has been said or cleared up about the incident. I think it's safe to say that if the funds were to be used for legitimate purposes, it would have been better for everyone involved if Daniele de Vecchis simply explained what the funds were needed for. Instead, de Vecchis took the blame and resigned his position. Up until this day, it's not clear what resigning his position means: stepping down from the CFO position or leaving Kaddex. For now, it seems to be business as usual and ignoring the community and their questions. It's curious that none of the other team members speak about this incident. One of the few team members making a statement is Steve D'Agostino, Chief Marketing Officer. D'Agostino thinks it's best to burn the tokens and move forward. None of the other team members dare speak about the incident or answer questions in any way, shape or form. Instead of answering questions, Kaddex decided to start banning the community members who kept asking for clarification and transparency. I've also tried personally to get in contact with Daniele de Vecchis through his Mandrake account on several social medias. Every attempt has been chilled. The team is building a big wall around them to protect themselves from the community, the same community they claim to serve with their DEX and DAO. Oh, conclusion. What now? Kaddex cannot seem to move forward or backward on this issue. Instead of giving the promised full transparency, They do what they do best, try to bury the issues by banning people who ask questions and going back to business as usual. It shows how hypocritical the team is and how much contempt they have for the community. What we now know is that Kaddex double-dipped the sale, they admitted to it. The bought KDX was not meant for the community or to spend.
I mean, I don't know how it gets any worse than that, guys. I really don't. That's horrible. You know, best part about it is, you know, we got effed out of the pre-sale, so if it tanks, right? Honestly, it should. Hopefully it does tank in reality so that everybody can have a fair opportunity to get into the project, you know? They haven't given us any launch dates. They don't answer any community questions. The guy's pretty spot on that. You know, I don't know how it can get any worse than that, really. But do I think what they did was wrong? Like, they used the community tokens? No, that doesn't bother me at all, right? You have a pre-sale. There was 2 pre-sales done. Anybody that wanted to get tokens could get tokens. It would be different if, you know, Mandrake bought those funds with, you know, I guess it would determine where those KDX tokens were being stored at, right? If he was buying them with community funds and they were going into a wallet that was not part of the KDX treasury, like if they were using treasury funds to buy coins and put them into a wallet that wasn't publicly owned by the treasury, yeah, I mean, you're legit stealing community funds if that's the case. So I guess that's where I would leave it at, right? If those wallets that they bought those coins with were community, like actually owned by the KDX treasury, if I'm not mistaken. Does anybody know on that? Right? And yeah, KDA Miner says in traditional finance, buying your own public sale is common practice. Yes, it is. As long as those funds went into a community, as long as he was buying those funds and that wallet was actually owned by the treasury, no big deal. Now, if they were going to a wallet that was not owned by the treasury, huge. Well, no. The article makes it seem like Francesco was in charge of everything, which KDX was Kadena swap. Like the Kadena team, I mean, they said it in our articles, right? They gave Kadena swap to the KDX team. So, and obviously he was. I mean, Francesco was the owner of KDX, and it does look like that the Kadena team was 100% trying to hide that for some reason and act like they weren't associated with it. But I mean, obviously the proof's in the pudding. I don't know, you know, I'm no private investigator. You know, this don't matter to me. I don't give a shit. I don't own any KDX. It's no sweat off my back, but it just sucks because KDX was going to play such a monumental role in getting the ball rolling. But by the time that KDX actually launches, who knows? We might have 5 DEXs. Like, all we get is soon. I can't stand hearing that. Soon. Mother effers, you been telling us soon since soon, you know? And CAD says it's also disclosure in traditional finance, for sure. Yeah, they didn't disclose it, for sure. I mean, I don't really see how it's a bad thing as long as those funds were not going to some random wallet, right? If you use treasury funds that you are in control of as the head of the treasury department and you want to buy out public tokens of a public sale after it wasn't selling out, you know, I could see if it was like, you know, his was the first order, but as long as those orders weren't placed until right before the sale ended, so no other, you know, you can't, I mean, if you did it any more than 1 hour before the sale sold out, I would probably be disappointed, you know? Because if you say your sales go until 2 p.m. on Friday, and then at 1 p.m. on Friday, all of a sudden it sells out, that's not okay. So if it was literally done at the last minute at the end of the sale, who cares? That's how I think about it. Yeah, put some zoom in your soon for sure. They were treasury funds. Yep. So they were treasury funds that they spent on them. And who owned those wallets that they went to? You know, it's great however you look at it. The only people that it sucks for are the people that got in the pre-sale. Or the public sale, I should say. But I still don't think that anybody's going to care 2 years from now. Like, if they roll out this DEX and it actually works, I don't know how many people will care. But, you know, if I was KD Launch, I would be... I think KD Launch now... Well, I shouldn't say that. KD Swap. I had no idea that KD Launch and KD Swap were two separate projects. I find that very strange, too. I think that was a huge bummer, man. It's like you're splitting up two tokens that have no business being split up. The KD Launch token, KDL holders would have done so good if KD Swap was just a part of KD Launch. Seems crazy to separate. Like, why would you separate those two? It doesn't make sense. And Kaddex has their own wallet too. So you got to think of it like a wallet, a crypto wallet generates so much money that it would be hard for Kaddex to fail with that wallet, especially when it's going to be the #1 go-to web wallet in the Kadena ecosystem. I don't see how it could. Like that makes Kadena look. I like how the person writes like, "Oh, I'm not trying to make Kadena look bad." That shit makes Kadena look worse than Kaddex. Like the Kadena FUD in that seems worse to me than, like, I'm more concerned about whatever that other FUD was besides the rest of the issues. Yeah, it seems like a TH. Yeah, it seems like they're the exact same thing. KD Launch, I would assume that nobody would have did KD Swap if they weren't directly connected and all of the above. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it was just the KD Launch logo that I saw. Yeah, I mean they're using the same KD Launch logo. I would assume they're the same project, you know. That seems bonkers. Like, why would you? Like, it's like they're double dipping. I mean, this to me throws up more red flags to me. Like, why are you charging double people for two different projects when they could just easily just been one, you know? I get it. They'll both probably do good, but it just sucks. Like KD Launch was the holy grail of projects, in my opinion. You're a launch pad with all the #1 projects. You have a built-in DEX. Now all that I talked about, the flywheel of constantly spending and generating income and all, you know, everything like that. Yo, Dan Keller, what up, homie? What up? So, beats the hell out of me, man. I can't tell. 100% KDA miner. Yo, Greasy, what up? Welcome to the squad, homie. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you. No, honestly, I have no idea. But I agree with KDA Miner. The absolute best thing Kaddex can do is just mother effing launch. Again, if you can't launch because it's a Kadena reason, there is a reason why Zelcore doesn't have a token. Exactly, yeah. Exactly, Dan gets it. Yep. That's the exact reason why Zelcore doesn't have a token. You want everything to have as much, you want constant value added to that underlying asset. Everything that's built on top of Flux requires Flux. Smart. Flux could have easily launched Zelcore coin. They could have probably launched 30 other coins, right? Flux is actually acquiring businesses to make Flux better. They're not acquiring businesses and then trying to get you guys to buy other businesses. It's very, very smart. I don't know why KD Launch didn't do that. It would have been a huge banger for the community and for KD Launch. Now you got two different assets that you're going to be trying to cross promote and help grow each other. Smart. I mean, it still adds value, right? Because now anything that goes through KD Launch will obviously be launched on KD Swap. So it's kind of like you're smart. I mean, I guess it's smart either way you look at it, but you know, it could have been so smart and so awesome for all the KDL holders. You guys would have been booming. You guys probably would have been able to retire off that play if you got in early enough. Yeah, Dan says we could have did like 10 launches, but we built everything as Flux. And that's why you see Flux doing so good in these market conditions. I was talking about you earlier, Dan. I was talking about people like, yeah, Flux is doing so good because they got the airdrops coming up in May 5th. And I go, you guys think that happened by accident? You think Dan just happened to randomly schedule these airdrops when the market conditions are the most bearish time of the year? I was like, I find it hard to believe that Dan did not strategically analyze the market and purposely put these airdrops to happen at this time of year, because these are when you really, really need to incentivize people to hodl. Everything about the Flux tokenomics are just everything about the project. I don't promote bad projects, guys. I really don't. I try to promote the best projects. And Flux is definitely one of them. Hands down. There's 4 projects that I would say I'd hodl forever, that I would be confident to throw in my cold storage wallet and not look at and walk away for 5 years and not even give a shit what the market does. Just knowing that those assets are going to be higher in value than when I bought them. Guarantee it. Hey, Rick, have a good one, homie. So smart. Exactly. These airdrops it's brilliant, man. Really, really smart. Hey, have a good one, Rick. We tend to see an increase in demand post distro as people stand up more nodes. Yeah, how many nodes you guys at, Dan? I was rocking my Flux hat today at the gym. I was doing some reps, and I was pulling the cables over my head. I go, oh shit, perfect. I got my Flux hat on. I was like, I'm gonna get a video of this real quick. A guy on the golf course asked if I worked at Flux yesterday. I was like, no, huge fan. I can never figure out how to get to the right page. Nope. I know there it is. Holy shnikes.